What's up everyone? This is Brad making a thread response video for Z. I mean, we're so close, you know, I'm just calling you by your first letter of your last name. So I guess I would be V. The thread response is for a thread long ago, like 2-3 months ago, and that is put the damn music away. And this is what I'd like to talk about. My arcade cabinet. I built this back in 2014. It's a computer, runs through emulation, so it's not a true arcade cabinet, but I can play, well, not right now. I have the potential to play any video game system, arcade game from anything in this, but there's a lot of work in there. I went missing a couple of months ago, kind of wasn't active in the VC, and the reason was this thing. So I have a really good friend, his name's Daniel. He runs, he's an electrician. He also runs like Cat5 network cable in people's houses as well. He said that he would help me do that if I got this thing back up and running. Like I said, I built this in 2014. Got it to a certain amount of games. I think I had close to 20,000 games at the time, and just kept on having problem after problem after problem. So I kind of, I mean, the only room, this is basically my dining room. My dining room table's right over here. Room that's big enough to cover. I'm out of my element, and I'm working with a new camera. So new camera meaning I borrowed a camera from work. Maybe this will be coming to you in 4K glory. Why? Anyway, it's just me. So I couldn't bury it. I mean, it's an eyesore in my dining room, but it's a fun eyesore when it works. Trouble I was having, just things like Windows kept breaking things, and buttons kept breaking, and I thought it was Windows. Turns out it's not, and I'll talk about that later. But it got to the point where I came home from work. I'm an IT administrator, and so I'm fixing people's problems with computers and servers and network and all of that during the day. I come home and I'm troubleshooting another computer. Kind of looks like what I just left, work. So I instantly found another hobby, and that was vinyl collecting and vintage audio gear as well. So have a whole lot more fun with that. Things don't break and everything. But diving back into this, and yeah, it's got a total of 59 buttons. Almost 60 buttons, and all of them can change color. They have LED, RGB LEDs in them. You may notice some of these are lit up. Each one of these buttons can be like 255 colors or something like that. Well, some of these are dim or not lit, and I did that because these buttons do not work. They don't do anything. There are 8 here, 4 here, 1 over here, 3 here, and 8 here. And it's a big problem. It turns out that the controllers, the guts of all of this, need to be replaced completely, and that sucks. Talk a little bit more about that later. But as you can see, these joysticks control things, and then you hit, I'm trying to remember, is this enter? I think this is enter. Yes. So then you can get all of the Sega CD games. You can exit out of that and go to TurboGrafx 16. There you go. There's all, and you notice how this one has all of the video and everything and just looks spectacular. You can get that to look like that for all the games, all the systems and everything. So this is a little of what I have. I think I'm out of focus. I'm not going to care. Sorry, I'm out of focus. So I'm going to flip this thing over and kind of give the look of, I was pretty crazy when I wired this thing up. For every button, there are 6 wires. You have a ground, you have a signal cable, you have power for the LED, and then you have R, G, and B for red, green, blue control to every single one of these buttons. So that's 6 wires per button. And I made it look as immaculate as I could. That comes out to 59 wires. Now let's just add that up to 60. That's 360 wires. And so I made it as good looking as I could, and I labeled everything. I dug out my little label maker and just label maked away, and cut everything to length. And yeah, anyway, I'm gonna flip this over. I'm gonna show what the underside of this control panel is, and yeah, we'll move on from there. So this is under the control panel, which is where all the buttons and joysticks and everything. So these here, here, and then there's one way over here. I don't know if you can see that. Those are the joysticks. Normally, yeah, so with these buttons, actually, I have one right down here. These are what are called a Microswitch. I think these are, there's like 5 or 6 different kinds of the switch. Let's see if I can zoom in on that and focus it here. Other way around. Hey, that's not bad. All right, dim light here. There we go. So this is a Microswitch. This is the ground. And then one of these, I think it's the bottom one. I'm not sure what the top one goes to. This is the signal wire. And then this is just the on and off switch. So when it's pressed, you're hitting the button. When it's depressed, you are not hitting the button. So let me get back into focus here. There we go. I'll boost this a little bit. There we go. So, and here is an example. So I marked this down as P3 B8R. So R would be red, green, blue, and then this is this goes to button number 8, player number 3. So that's an example of a tag. Yeah, and so ground wire is black. Signal wire is specific color, and what I did was I used the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of setup. Not really sure why I chose yellow, because there isn't a Ninja Turtle yellow, but red for Raphael, yellow for Donatello. Maybe I couldn't find purple. Orange for Michelangelo, and then blue for Leonardo. These are the big problem. So there's a guy by the name of Josh Wolf. Probably shouldn't have said his name, but oh well. Really great guy. I've talked with him. He developed these cards. They're the Wolfware technology card. And he made this to basically do everything you want it to. So it had the ability to work with a program called LED Blinky, so it could change the color on all of your buttons if you had LED, RGB LEDs. It even would change the color of the button when you opened a specific app or a specific system. So if you wanted to start up a Super Nintendo, specifically a game, it could change the button to any color you want. So all of your display would just change, or your control panel buttons. So these cards, Josh did a great job. These cards weren't cheap. They were $200 each, and I have 3. I had to have 3 to control everything. And as you can see, there are blinking, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there are blinking lights here. Well, that means that there's communication between the computer and the card. The problem with that is, these cards, is this card isn't, like, the lights aren't blinking. And that's because it's dead. And you remember those dark buttons that were on the control panel? Those are dead buttons. And so even though this one is blinking and that one over here is blinking, some of these ports aren't working. And that's really crappy. So Josh, he did a great job fixing it. He did a great job of supporting. There were times where, like, I plugged things into these cards that I shouldn't have. I purchased the wrong LEDs, and they were high-powered LEDs, and these weren't meant to go with this. And I basically freaked out the card and called him or emailed him. And he's like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that, but I think we could still be able to salvage the card. Let's see, try this and try this. And very helpful. Got him back up and running. Really, really awesome support there. Well, he opened his designs, his plans to the community and said, hey, have at it, have fun. Well, there was another company, and I won't name the company, who took that design, made it for themselves, and then sold it for half the price. And that, I guess, wasn't Josh's MO. And I think this happened in 2016, so I really wasn't a part of it, but you can see it on the internet, in forums and everything. But he basically had a hissy fit. And the company wasn't going to give him any kickbacks or anything because he made his plans widely available to everyone. And they were doing what was, I consider, fair use. He basically handed over the copyright and made it, community-based. Well, so he basically said, I am going to smash my toys and no longer sell, no longer support, and I am going to build better toys for myself and not share them with this community. And so he took down his website. You can't find these cards anywhere. You can't find any support for them either. So I'm kind of up shit creek without a paddle. So I'm actually going to turn to the company that designed their boards after this board. They were great when they worked, but when they didn't work, which was more often than not, they were a mess. And while I wanted to blame Windows for always constantly updating and breaking things, the truth of the matter is these cards were probably the fault the entire time. So anyway, This is what I do with my spare time when I'm not listening to music and grading records and making videos and whatnot. It isn't much of my spare time at the moment because, yeah, it's depressing. Well, Bobby, now that I've shared kind of the story behind this and kind of my passion outside of music, let's go behind the computer. I'm going to show you kind of the guts and the software of everything. And yeah, let's get into it. So we are at my video editing rig that I use for my channel videos. I could configure everything at my arcade cabinet, but why be hunched over a control panel with about this much space for a keyboard and about this much space for a mouse when I can sit down in the comfort of my bedroom and have a huge desk and a nice large screen in front of me. So I go that route. Now it is a little inconvenient because if I do need to plug something in or turn something on, I do have to get up and walk to the other part of the house to then come back to work on things. But that's infrequent and it's much easier this way. So what I do, I remote desktop into the computer, and by just clicking here and double clicking, hitting continue, and I am in the arcade cabinet. And just kind of wanted to show, as I mentioned, I did the remainder of this, the rest of this video like 3-4 months ago because just a whole lot of things happened. And I don't remember the software as like I did a few months ago. That's the problem with me. When I get distracted and I quit working on things, I have to relearn them. And well, I haven't done that before making this video, and so this portion of the video. So I'm going to stumble through this the best I can. Wanted to show some of the software, as I mentioned earlier in this video, and wanted to start with the Howler Cards that was shown earlier. So this is the software for the Howler Cards, and this is the Howler card, one of them. This has a Howler ID of 1. I'm going to attempt to zoom in on this portion here. There we go. And I know it doesn't look very good. It's kind of blurry, but this is BU, not L. It looks like an L. BUTT, but number 14. I don't know why they used 2 T's. I'm not sure, but button. It's supposed to stand for button. Number 14. B14. I'm going to change that. Turn that off because that's annoying. There we go. Button 14, B14. Then this is B14B, which stands for blue, and then green and red. And these control the color that the button displays in the LED. And then this last one is the 5-volt pin out, basically pin out. So these are those 5 pinouts. This is signal. This is blue, green, red signals, and then 5-volt pinout. And then this is the button that is then coordinated, the key press that's coordinated with the button. So when I hit button number 14 on controller number 1, it hits the L key. Let me zoom out of this. And I'll close this as well so that doesn't mess me up later. To quickly show LED colors, button number 14 is currently red. I can click on that, and the red level is 254. 254 is the highest number. If I wanted to make that black, I would hit 0 and press set LED, and now it's black. It's just not illuminating anything, basically. And if I wanted to make it white, I would do 254, 254. I guess 255 is the highest number, 255. There we go. Let's make this fully true white, 255. Set LED, and now it's white. We're just going to go back to, there we go. We're going to just go back to red. And I love how it says Howler controllers found 2, but I actually have 3. And that's because one of them is dead. I have so much work to resurrect this thing. So much work ahead of me. Back to the controllers, let's click on button L. And this is where button number 14, butt 14. This is where you can type in whatever or program whatever keyboard button you want, or you can also use a Joy 1 butt or a mouse butt. Those are the best butts. Typically I use keyboard, and then you can select any of these keys. And so let's just do A for now. And then you can click on a modifier. And so these are the modifiers. So when that button is pressed, not only is the button A, the keyboard button A pressed, but then you can also set it to right shift or left shift or right alt. And all of this stuff does different things, and you can program things to just do different things. So like you can set it to on a low A, you can have something happen. On a large A, you can have something else happen. So uppercase A. I don't usually use the modifiers, and I'm also not going to set that control. I'm just going to click out of this. I'm kind of done with this, so we're just going to close it. Let's stumble through some of the software. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done this, and I don't remember it. And I'm sure some things are broken. Yay. Before going into the software, I'm going to quick show I'm just going to use this, some of the file structure that we have on here as well. So this is the local C drive. I don't know why. Stop doing that. This is the local C drive, which is basically the Windows operating system. And then this is the arcade cabinet drive. This is a SSD, a 250 gig SSD. And in here are all of the arcade stuff. Hyperspin, which is the name of the software. Then you got databases, so you have all these databases for all of this software. I think the only thing that I have running is the database for MAME right now, and so then you have all of these games, all the volleyball games, any kind of game you want, it's in here. You got even favorites. Let's just let's open it in Notepad here. Let's see what it goes on. So you have, it looks like HTML. But it's a programming language, probably using HTML for this. And this is just, I didn't have to do any of this, guys. None of it. This was already here, thank God. Like I said, there's a big community involved with the Hyperspin community, and you think that there's a lot of people in the VC. There are a lot of people in the VC. The community is growing day by day. Well, I can promise you there's a lot of community within the arcade cabinet community with Hyperspin. A lot of people making videos on this stuff. A lot of help there. A lot of help, which is great. So those are the databases. If you were wanting to do emulators, emulators is software that runs the games, which then ties into Hyperspin and allows you to use that stuff. We only have one emulator in here, that's MAME. MAME stands for Multi-Arcade Machine Emulator, that's it. And so I have two emulators in here. One's MAME 64, the other one's MAME UI 64. I think this one is the one I'm using. Yeah, there's not really anything. There's some artwork in here, but it's not really anything. So yeah. And then so if you wanted to do an emulator, it would be best to right click, create a new folder for it, and let's just use the Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo Entertainment System. You would create its own folder, and then you would place the emulator that you would want in this folder. Right now I'm just going to delete that because I don't need that. Yeah, so there you go. I'm going to, for some reason, some of this stuff like Hyper HQ, I wanted to show you some of that. It isn't working. I don't know why. Just don't know why. Things break. Things break. Just like my job. I work in IT. Just like my job. I mean, I quit doing this just because it looked a lot like my job. I started the vinyl community and everything. So I'm really glad I quit this. I go back to it every now and then, but usually I try and stay away. Let's go into Rocket Launcher. Rocket Launcher is kind of the brains behind everything. There's no gaming in this. There's just a whole bunch of configuration. And so Rocket Launcher, actually Rocket Launcher UI is what I want. So we'll load that up. And this is the software behind it all. And over here you have all of the kind of the arcade system or the video game systems. So you have Atari stuff, Daphne. Daphne is the Laserdisc games that like Dragon's Lair and Space Ace. Space Ace? Space Ace. Pretty sure it was Space Ace. There was also one made by Sega, but it was 3D. I don't remember which one that was called. You can't play that because we don't have a 3D hologram type thing going on. MAME, I've mentioned that. TurboGrafx 16, Nintendo 64. You can read the list. I won't go through every one of them. And then you have this global thing. And so global is where you go in here and you tell the system what emulator you use. And so we're under the Emulators tab. There's also general settings. So global, if you change anything here, it will change it for all of them. All of these, I'm sorry, I'll use the mouse. All of these video game systems, it will change any of these settings. But if you want to change settings for just that video game system, like MAME, you click on MAME, and now you can change for just that only. We'll go back to global though. So then you have global settings, you have settings, and I don't touch any of this stuff unless someone on YouTube tells me to touch this stuff. That sounds weird. Sounds dirty. Stop it. Stop it. And then here under emulators, I will, there's all the list of emulators that you can have. And we'll go to the MAME one, because that's the only one I have working. So here's MAME, and you double click on it. It brings this up. Here are the extensions, the ROM extensions. So all of the games, one thing I did forget to show were all of my games. I have a separate hard drive, a 2 terabyte hard drive that have all of the games, all of the ROMs. And so we have ROM. Apparently I only have them for MAME. And then here are all of the games that I have. Right here, 11,844. All of these are available on the internet. Wouldn't necessarily say that they're completely legal, but they're there. So the ROM extensions, so all of those were basically zip files. And so you have 7Z, which is a type of zip. And then you have zip, you have this, you have a text edit, text file, and then executable file. And then show the path of the module, or the path of the emulator, and you can just click on that, find the emulator, which this was the emulator, and then open that, and it'll save it for right here. And that's how you kind of set up the emulator for MAME, or other emulators as well. Modules, okay, I don't remember what that's all about. Then you get into the games. Now, the games under global isn't very impressive. There really isn't anything for global. But when you get into the game or the system, and you click on this button, edit all the games, press that button, and now it'll show you all of the games that you have compared to the database list that the software has. And so you can see I have 5 there. 10 Yard, 1941, which is a really good World War I shooter. 1942, which is strangely enough older than 1941, if I said 1991 earlier. 1942, which is older than 1941. I don't get that, but the truth is 1942 was made before 1941. Kind of strange. And then the most important one for me is, wait, down here. I won't be able to find it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's my favorite game. T-Mech. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right there, which was the game that I demonstrated earlier. What else? Is Pause, Key Mapper, whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, so that's some of the software. There's a lot of configuration that goes on in this. You can get lost, and you can break things really easily. I do backups a lot of the times. I document everything. Pretty sure I have documentation somewhere in here of what I've done. Not sure where it is. Oh yeah, here we go. Nope, that's not it. Hope I didn't lose that. Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. I thought I found it. Nope. Never mind. I probably lost it. I cleaned up my desktop for this video, and I probably shouldn't have done that. Oh, well. Yeah, and so then we can go into the Hyperspin software. Unfortunately, I can't pull a game up on this. It won't run in Emulator because won't run up in remote desktop because it doesn't see the graphics card. But it does get to this portion, and then I am able to control MAME. And I'm going to close out of this because that's annoying. I thought I got rid of that, but I didn't. And you can have videos play in this. I don't have any videos hooked up or anything, but it's all linked. All files are linked and everything. And so, yeah, this is the arcade cabinet, some of the software behind it, and a lot of fun. It can be very distracting, and it can be very, very frustrating. But sometimes it can also be fun. So that's kind of what I do in some of my spare time when I'm not listening to music. When I put that damn music away, this is some of what I do. So hope you enjoyed, everyone. Take care, and we will talk to you next time in the next video. See y'all. Bato. Hey, how are you? Bato. Bato. You say hi to Bobby? No, don't. Please don't. But you say hi to Bobby Z? Sorry, man. He's still not wanting to talk. Man, I'm not used to a manual focus camera.